Hello there, Cryptowisers. It's your old friend Milton here. Uh, Guys, I wish I had better news, but it is another rough day in crypto. Look, there's no way to get around it. The macro economy right now is screwed, and that means that crypto is going to hurt. And yeah, we're going to have days like this. We're searching for that bottom. Hopefully, we are close, but you just never know. This market, there's just so much FUD in this market right now. But again, that is why it is even more important for us at Cryptowise to do these videos for you, stay connected with you through this time because we are in this with you. It has been painful. One of the things we want to do during this time is do as many interviews as possible with projects, altcoin projects, to put the CEOs, the leaders, to the fire, make them answer the tough questions. And that is what today's video is all about. Today we have Dylan Dewdney on the channel once again. He is the founder of Kylin Network. This is a data play on Polkadot. It's a project I've talked a lot about. I'm heavily invested in it. And obviously, ouch. Okay, like everything else, the Kylin price has taken a beating over the last few months. But this is actually one of my very risky altcoin plays that I am hanging on to. Okay, I've had to sell off a lot of my alt bags, to preserve some capital over the last few months, and it has hurt me dearly because a lot of these projects I believe in still. But this is my strategy. I'm taking some projects, trying to preserve as much capital as possible to have on the sidelines to get back into the market when I feel like the timing is right. But with certain projects like Kylin for me, which it's so far down already and I can stake it, and I still believe that there is upside to the project in the long run, that I am just going to hodl my Kylin. This is not financial advice. Of course, you do what you need to do in your own circumstance. But this is what I'm doing. I am picking certain coins, certain altcoins that have already gotten killed, ones that I think can survive this bear run. And so I got my fingers crossed that Kylin can be one of those projects. One of the things I've always loved about this project is that Dylan is transparent. He's out front. He doesn't hide. He takes the hard questions, and he definitely does this in this interview today. I did not hold back. I asked all the very tough questions for anyone interested in knowing if and how Kylin Network can survive this bear market. So hopefully we'll have a lot more interviews coming up in the next few weeks, because I think this is super important for you to hear from the creators of these projects. What is their plan? How much runway do they have? Okay, what kind of treasury do they have? What's their burn rate? All those kind of things that you hear those terms in the traditional markets. These are leading indicators on whether or not some of these alts are going to survive or die over the next few months. Before we jump into the interview, please do me a favor, more important than ever. If you want more in-depth content that we provide here at Cryptowise, these in-depth interviews and everything else, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. And of course, follow us over on Twitter at Cryptowise, guys. Do not fall for scammers. A lot of scammers out there on Twitter pretending to be us. If you see this diamond shape NFT, that is us. If it doesn't have the official diamond shape, it is probably not us. Okay, at Cryptowise, guys. All right, without further ado, here's my conversation with Dylan Dewdney talking about whether or not Kylin Network can survive this bear market. All right, Cryptowisers, we got Dylan Dewdney back. Last time we chatted with him was about a year ago, but we've talked to Kylin a lot on the channel, and Dylan's still with Kylin, was one of the founders of Kylin, and other people are now that we've also talked to on the channel are kind of doing the day-to-day, but Dylan is still with Kylin and doing some other things. But we're really thrilled to have him here today because this is one of the signs of a good project, is when they're willing to show their face, be transparent, have the hard conversations, even in a bear market. So Dylan, really appreciate you being here today and representing Kylin. Just to kind of get the official word on, like, what is your position with Kylin these days?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm still leading Kylin. I never really stopped leading Kylin. There was a time period where we wanted to put Sam, who was our previous CTO, into a leadership position. Unfortunately, that did not work out for him for personal reasons, I guess. Yeah, I'm still essentially benevolent dictator of Kylin.
Okay, so you are kind of hands-on day to day. You're still in there. You're in the trenches, kind of figuring this out. All right, well, let's just jump in. We got to, we got to get to the hard stuff right away. Obviously, everyone in the crypto market is hurting these days. This is, it's not like this is a Kylin problem. This is, it's a whole macro economy problem, and it's a crypto problem, and now it's and Kylin finds itself in the storm. But when you talk about a bear market and we talk about the old kind of crypto winter, who knows if we're going through that now or not, but we kind of have this idea that 90% or 99% of all crypto projects are going to fail. And so I guess the hard question is, or the big question is Kylin going to survive? Can Kylin survive this downtime?
Well, I mean, I've bootstrapped Kylin and I've attached my reputation to it, so I sure hope so.
So in terms of kind of burn rate, when we talk about, regular companies at times like this, they're trying to slash their burn rate, trying to really keep their profit or their revenues, net positive. Now with crypto, it's different, I guess, because, you guys are all startups in some way and don't have any revenue. So essentially you've raised a bunch of money through token issuance, and that money has to kind of last you a long time. So where are you at in terms of burn rate? And if you've slashed your burn rate, let's just start with that. So where are you with burn rate? How long do you have in terms of a runway here for Kylin not to make any revenue? How long could you survive at this if the market didn't change today?
If the market didn't change, like if everything stayed the same as it is now,
Yeah.
it would essentially be at the same level that it was, um, as we anticipated, right? So the anticipation was always that we would want to have enough in the treasury to last about 2.5 years, essentially, if the token price went to zero or close to zero. And we're about a year in post raise, so a little over a year now post raise. So we've got, I would assume, about a year left of runway, but there are some provisos to that. One is that there are levels of, I guess, survival that we're willing to accept. So if indeed like we needed to extend runway by getting rid of positions that may not be completely crucial, or if we need to do reductions of various kinds to survive. I mean, that's one thing. There are other things that can be open to the project in terms of making potential equity deals as time goes on. Um, I think there are a bunch of things that we could think about. But right now we're at the point of, being ready to get to a product, right? We've won our Kusama auction. We've done a couple other things that I think will result in some actual market traction. Whether or not the token price goes up or goes down, I cannot say. I've been through several cycles and super cycles and black swans going back to 2012. So this is nothing new to me. It's new to perhaps retail investors or people who came in um, off the froth of 2019 and 2020. The like
But there's a
the sort
reality,
of
right? There's a reality for a project like yours in that, like, as a crypto investor, I've been through a lot of these cycles too. But I can tell you, I've held a lot of bags that didn't survive. They didn't,
same.
it's not
Yeah.
like every project survives through this. So I think that's where, and obviously I've talked about Kylin a lot on the channel. I'm an investor. I've been an
Thank you for
investor
that.
from very early on. And I've watched the price of Kylin go, from areas in which I bought it, which I don't even want to speak of how high the price was, to where it is now, which is at just over 2 cents. Now, I know what I'm getting into, and I don't get angry, and I definitely don't get angry at people like you and projects like you if I feel like there's an authentic true desire to build something, and I believe in the vision, and I'm going to invest in it. I'll hold it through the down period, and hopefully through the next up period. I guess the hard part, or the crucial kind of questions to ask people like you, is figuring out, okay, can you survive? Can we get Kylin through this tough time? So I'm curious about the treasury. Like, okay, so you do a raise, you kind of send the Kylin token out into the world, and you make a bunch of money from that to create this product. How
Correct.
much now at that time, how much did you put into stable coins? How much did you put into Bitcoin? How much did you put into DOT? How much did you keep in Kylin? Like, how much of your day-to-day expenses right now do you have to pay out through the Kylin token?
None. We're all at treasury. We're still on the raise. We're still going through the raise amount. We're
Okay,
not
so that
liquidating
money
any
is more like in
Kylin
fiat.
token.
Did you keep it in
Yeah,
fiat, or?
correct. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
USDT and USDC.
Okay, cool.
And
Okay,
then
good to know.
we also took a position in Ethereum, for which we made a bit of profit, and that increased the that was early on, and then we traded that out to USDT, and that remains in USDT. So that extended our runway, I think, at that point by like 4 or 5 months when we did that.
Okay, great. And I think I remember last time I talked to you that you guys did hold some DOT at that time, because I think you had, part of the strategy was that you would have some DOT just in case you needed it for the parachain. Is that still true, or?
No, we actually didn't really hold a lot of DOT. I don't know if did I say that we bought DOT with raised funds? I don't know if
I
I
don't know if it was with the raised funds. I don't know. I think I mean, I could be
because
remembering incorrectly. I'd have to go back, but I do think
well,
I
what
remember
we
asking about the
you may
parachain, and you said that you did have some DOT in reserve just in case you had to add some yourself.
yeah. So that's a different thing. So that was what we did was we made various sort of like deals on because a lot of people wanted into the private rounds and to sort of satisfy some of that demand and to get the most effectual investors involved. We wanted to make deals and say, hey, if you have dot reserves, we want you to guarantee us some dot when we go for our parachain auction.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so from that, we had 100,000 dot essentially guaranteed through like basically agreements or memorandums of understandings, but usually in the form of an agreement, like a formal agreement that when we went to Parachain, they will give us the dot guarantee as a result of
Nice.
giving them an allocation in the private round.
Okay.
We did a number of those deals, and we also had some verbal commitments that get us hopefully to around the number of 200,000 dot when the time comes. To be completely transparent, the dot parachain has taken much longer for us than we anticipated. That being said, I don't think that they won't commit to those guarantees. And we also sort of like got a little bit of a break because the amount of dot I think required as we go longer into the parachain auctions will be has lessened, right, to win an auction.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be a question I had for later on, but we might as well ask you that now. I mean, it does seem like they've gone down substantially in terms of the amount of dot. Some of these projects that are winning a dot parachain now, there's not
Mhm.
that much of a raise required. Do you do you have any regrets of kind of creating the Pichiu Kusama, getting that parachain first, when now it looks like you could have just got dot?
Um, no, no, I don't. I mean, like we kind of flip-flopped a little bit on that strategy. Part of that was, it was presented by Sam and agreed with it for Kusama uh, eventually, but we were going to just go right to dot. And the rationale was that, for a validated data network, we would just want to have the most robust, get right to sort of the most robust and safest option for that, which would be Polkadot. But for me at least, it became apparent that there were going to be like a number of use cases potentially that where we would want to like kind of test it out a bit more, especially when you're thinking about validating data that comes from like non-public sources. And I think that for us at least, it just became a good idea to go, I guess, what ended up becoming the conventional route, which was to get both a KSM implementation or auction done and a Polkadot auction done. And if you look at, what I consider to be some of the best projects in the Datsama ecosystem, they're doing the same thing.
And so you did win. We were excited when you won the Kusama slot, and it
Same.
seems,
It was
but
on the
it seems
seventh
like
try.
right. Yeah, it did take a little bit longer than we all had hoped, but we got it now. So you got it, and so
Yeah.
but it seems to be taking a little bit of time here to kind of get the pair chain set up. I know that I think.
Hmm.
And I don't I'm kind of bad in that I don't participate in a lot of these votes on Kusama. Sometimes I probably should do more, but so I think that's the idea right now is right is that is that all you're waiting for? Essentially, the pair chain, you're just waiting for this vote on Kusama because the on everything that happens on Kusama or Polkadot needs to be voted on in this kind of decentralized governance process. So maybe for people watching who want to help you out here, what's the process here for them to help you win this vote and be able to get this parachain running?
Yeah, so Kusama has just essentially a governance, I guess, function, and they need to navigate to that and then vote. That's essentially all it comes down to, and
But
we
it's
can
been
provide the
up for
links.
vote for a couple of weeks, right? So like, why isn't it? What's holding it up from being? Because I don't think people are voting against it. It's just not enough people are voting, or like what's the holdup?
Um, I don't think there is any holdup. They have their own like deadline. It has to undergo like a number of days before it's over, as far as I know.
Oh, okay. I thought there was like a priority list, and sometimes you can lose priority if other things are being voted on more than yours or something. Because it hasn't haven't you been like I haven't you been up for vote for a while now?
Yeah, I think we have been actually. Yeah.
So let's jump forward. Let's hope that this goes through. And those of people out there who have Kusama and take participate in the governance, hopefully you'll go on and vote to help Kylin get this, or to technically Pichiu to get their parachain up and running. So once that happens, you're voted on. Is it all systems go? Like, what can we expect then from Pichiu?
Yeah, essentially, once that's voted on, then we will be producing blocks, and then we will start to build out some of the functions that, especially the Oracle and OCW functionalities. And Sylvain has been doing a really, really bang up job of essentially revising a little bit of the technical architecture, but also putting a plan together to, I guess, get to those milestones as quickly as possible.
Because the blockchain, the Kylin blockchain or the Pichiu blockchain it's kind of ready to go, right? It's all built. It's as you say, it will just once it's connected to the parachain, then the blocks will start going, and and you are launching a token for Pichiu. So I imagine at that point the TG of the Pichiu token will happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the Pichu token launch will happen, and then the soon after well, relatively soon after, like we'll do, we'll start to work on our Polkadot parachain auction, and coincident with all of that, we'll be working through development milestones that we'll be releasing pretty soon. And yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the future is like extremely bright for Kylin. Probably brighter than it has been in the past, just because we have a level of, I think, technical talent that we didn't have before. All due respect for, all of our team members who are still with us, but Sylvain is Sylvain has been kind of like, yeah, in terms of talent. So it's like developers are kind of like basketball players, or like, you or something like that, right? Like you can have, like, you can shoot a basket, but to play in the NBA is like a totally different thing. So it takes us like aptitude and talent level, especially when it comes to being able to think innovatively about some of the things that we're doing, rather than just sort of point and shoot. Um, and I think through Sylvain as well, we've made better inroads than we had. Although we did have good inroads with Parity, but I mean, they're even better now. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I want you to expand on that a little bit, because I think this is an aspect that maybe even myself as an investor or a crypto researcher kind of underestimates, and I think a lot of retail people do, is you love the vision, but then it's like, yeah, it does feel like you have all these kind of the major technical geniuses out there who understand this stuff, who can build it, and they are, very hard to get, very hard to keep. So, and I think Kylan's a really interesting case, in that we have seen a lot of different movement, especially at the top of kind of the executives that have come in and out. Uh, and so now you're saying that with Sylvain, you have someone who you really trust, who you think can really build this. How do you, but it, how do you keep him? How do you make sure that he's going to be part of Kylin for the long term, so people who are investing know that that his expertise and his talent is going to stay with Kylin?
well, I mean, like, retention is and talent retention is really important, but I mean, it's not everything. It Even though, it's very important. We So I guess I don't like the idea of being held hostage by talent,
Right.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure it
Uh,
does. Yeah.
I so I think that,
Like in
so
the end,
like that being
is it like a basketball free agent, where essentially they're just going to, they're going to go to the highest bidder, or they're going to go to the sexiest project, or the, like, how to give us a glimpse into the kind of the back of how this kind
the
of
inner
works.
workings.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if these, like, if yeah, I mean, it's a good analogy, because if these guys can sort of write their own tickets a little bit, um then it has to be something more than just, whatever the resource allocation is. And I think, where I think I'm proud of myself and the job I do, is I'm good at understanding, like, what the big picture is, and what the meaning is behind the work that we could be doing, beyond just the money, or beyond the promise of, you know good research, like good resourcing. Like, for Sylvain, or for whoever, whatever talent I bring into stuff that I'm doing, it's like crucially important that they're philosophically aligned with what, the mission is, and what the vision is, or what in fact we're trying to do. And for me, that is delivering a more equitable future to the world through a decentralized internet, essentially, and the components, or the technical infrastructure of that, needs to be built out. And we're to some extent, we're in some competition to build out that technical infrastructure, which includes things like decentralized identity, includes things like, decentralized storage, or self custody, or data, or decentralized data markets, or better and more efficient ways to feed, to undertake data feeding, uh, consummate with Oracle functionality. So, all these things are, like, actually really, really important, because they are going to reshape the world in, the hope is, in a fairer vision. And if I can compel somebody to see that, then yeah, they're going to get compensated well, because it's we have, it's like a just like a basketball player would, but what they're fighting for, what they're endeavoring for is worth something beyond that. It's worth something way beyond that. And even if we fail, and even if they fail, and it's sort of like you can still, and even if a retail investor fails, like I never, when I was like, I wanted to support, I mined like Ethereum, I mined Bitcoin, I wanted to support the network.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. For sure.
like yes, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say that I had hoped for, um, like, my life to get better in material ways. Um, but I also just was like, I really believe in this. I want to support the network. I want to run a node. I want to, do these things. And um, I'm digressing a little bit from your question, but I
No,
think,
no, no,
but
no.
I think
Yeah.
rounding it out, I think the way to get people involved, who are in high demand and who could, write their own ticket, we'll say, is to really help, is to really like hit them at that personal philosophical level. And if our philosophies align, then great. Like with Sylvain, um, we both like uh, we both discovered we were really into quadratic voting and like democracy palettes and stuff like that. Like I just really into the kind of like the political orientation of Web3. Um, and same with, like Gavin Wood is a hero of mine, and because he's also politically oriented in terms of Web3. It does have the capacity to change the world and to change our children's, futures, and in many, many different ways. And like, I think that, it's worth trying, and it's worth, even failing, right? I mean,
Yeah. No, I
there's
agree. I
no, there,
agree. And I do
like,
want to
yeah.
I want to reinforce that for especially people watch our channel. Obviously, they're looking for a lot of investors. They're looking for the next big thing, the next big investment and stuff. And you try to say again and again and again is like these I love the tech of blockchain. I love what's being built, especially in the Polkadot ecosystem. And these are startups. It's like and as long as the teams, as long as like I think you're part. Once you invest in something, you should be part of the team and trying to really build it up and be part of it. And that's the great thing about these decentralized projects is that everyone can be part of it. But I don't think you can get mad at a team if they've worked as hard as they can and really tried to build something and it just doesn't work out. I mean, that's why these are risky investments, and we keep saying that these are risky investments, and that is very different than a rug pull or someone scamming anyone or anything like that. Which obviously in this market, you get a lot of anger, you get a lot of emotion with investors, but I think it's just so important to know the difference between those two things and really take that into
Well,
consideration.
yeah, it's worth kind of pontificating on this a little bit, I think, because like, um, I see a lot of talented people now just totally not going through the token model. Like, Evan, my good friend Evan McMullen, like she just faced off with Vitalik Buterin on Bankless, and she's an advisor for NFT3, and like they didn't do a token raise, and it's probably ultimately it might have been a better way forward, right? Because they don't have. It's like sometimes when you do a public raise or you do a token sort of model, it's like it's as if you were an academic research group, but you're being treated like you're a short order cook. Like, why is this
Right.
not coming out?
And it
And
is a
no,
different
and no
thing. Like I
disrespect
would
to
love.
short order cooks, like,
Right.
but
I'd love to hear I
it's
would
like,
love to hear your perspective on this though, because it does seem like a very different thing. If you had just gone out to VCs and said, I'm creating this company, do you want to invest in it or whatever? And it's all done kind of through shares and stuff like that. That's a very different proposition than these token issuances. Like you're how do you balance this idea of you're trying to build out these projects, Kylin and Pichiu, and focus on that, but there is, the reality that you've promised that in doing so, that will bring value to this token. How do you balance those
Value,
two
because
focuses?
that's a very easy answer, because value is dissimilar from price, right? And everybody thinks price is equal to value, but value is not the same, right? Like I was buying Ethereum when it was 30 cents, right? So it's like I don't I was
But
buying at
as Ethereum,
$10,
I
but
mean, they kind of
yeah.
are hand in hand, though. Ethereum has shown itself to be valuable,
They
and
do. I'm
therefore
not
the
saying they're
price goes
mutually
up.
exclusive. I'm not saying they're mutually exclusive, but I think that
Like ultimately,
I
those
think
have to
it's
kind
like,
of align
yeah.
eventually, or else a project really it doesn't have value. If a project has true value and the tokenomics make sense, and the token has been built into the project to be able to represent that value, then the price will go up eventually.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, I don't know, no offense to Tron, but is Tron valuable? I mean, is like, or are any, is Dogecoin valuable? Like, is that valuable?
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean there are outlier kind of projects and that go up and down in value. I mean, you would think that in the long term, if they don't have value, they probably won't survive. But something like Kylin, and the reason people would invest in Kylin is they feel like they understand the value proposition of what it's bringing, and ultimately they feel like that's going to get eventually going to be represented within the token price.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. I take your point there. And I mean, yeah, I mean, and I don't know what to say except that,
Like ultimately,
I
right
think the
now,
team,
it
yeah.
right now, is there a reason for someone to buy Kylan right now, the token?
Um, yeah. I mean, I hope so. Jeez.
And it
I
must be
mean,
because you think it because ultimately you think if the project works, Kylan's price will go up, and that the token is needed. Like if you must have built in some
yeah.
utility, enough utility that the token is needed so that if the project does well, then the token will do well. No? I mean, that's
Well,
why I
yeah, I
invested
mean,
in it.
yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if like I think about this in not even because I think if I think about it just in terms of Kylan, I'll get too, biased or emotional because I'm really passionate about the project. Dude, I never thought it should ever be below 5 cents, but it is what it is. If I, even though I don't think I'm supposed to talk about price, um, but I, yeah, like more broadly, if if you had conviction, or if you have conviction, it's in the bear market where like you're gonna actually make the biggest plays. I mean, buying Ethereum at $90 or in December, like 2019.
Right.
Well, it
Yeah,
seems
for sure.
obvious now. It seems obvious now, right?
And
But you didn't. No one. No, not that many people were doing it.
right.
So
And so I want to,
like,
yeah, no, I take your point for sure. And I think so. I want to talk about one of the things that I do think is going to be essential to bring that value to both Kylan and the token is
sure.
are partnerships within Polkadot, because we are seeing Polkadot start to build. We got some paired chains out there. We got some paired chains messaging to each other. We're starting to see different tokens. Akala starting to build out, and you're seeing different tokens come onto their decks and stuff. So we're seeing that building. And one of the things that has been, if I'm being brutally honest, it's been kind of disappointing in terms of Kylan not really being named within the Polkadot ecosystem. And you don't hear a lot about projects being excited to work with Kylan, or really vice versa. So I don't know, is that just kind of under wraps, or is that something that does need to be improved upon? How where are you at with your relationships within Polkadot and Kusama?
Named by whom?
Well, just like in the you just hear, every, even just now, A Star just came out and said that they're going to be, that they're now messaging with Akala, and so they're going to be, their tokens will be be able to be available on a call list. So you see, and then you see all sorts of Kilt is doing partnerships with a ton of different projects. You just see these kind of, news releases or whatever it is that projects start talking about, yeah, I'm working with so-and-so. And the idea of Polkadot is that it's supposed to be interoperable. And that's one of the biggest advantages. And as the Oracle provider and kind of data infrastructure and being able to tokenize data, partner, it seems like a service. It seems like that in itself is only valuable if you have people using the services.
Yeah, I think that's precisely right. We have to get to a parachain or a product before we start delivering those services. We have, I think it lasts, we have like 50 plus partnerships that I was in front of and got personally in the early days. Some of those projects aren't around any longer, actually. Some projects die, some projects become ascendant. The market goes up, the market goes down. Some projects, it looks like the integration from a technical standpoint doesn't actually make sense. There's certainly there was every reason for me to push forward with any project that wanted to get a more efficient Oracle, to push forward with those partnerships and take them public. And I hope that every single one of them becomes the real deal as we get to product and we get to, because our Kusama implementation becoming mature and then getting to Polkadot implementation. In terms of being seen in a good light or something by, I don't know, other projects in Datsama, which I take it as your meaning.
I'm not saying either way.
That,
I'm not saying either way. I guess it's more of a question, like, are you or what are those relationships like?
Yeah, pretty good. Like, I'm pretty friendly with Moonbeam and Derek and Nate. Like, I've known them and spoken with them since the beginning. Just because like we aren't announcing stuff doesn't mean that there's not decent relationships.
And are you confident that are you confident that once you launch and once you do have a working product, that a lot of the projects within Dot and Kusama will kind of implement them and start using them?
Well, I sure hope so. We really want to make off-chain worker extensibility like a reality. We want to make it easy to utilize that. We want to make essentially we want to have a Polkadot based Oracle, which as far as I know doesn't really exist at this point.
Yeah, no.
Parity is still very encouraging. Yeah, we're behind on some of our milestones, but we, like especially with Sylvain on board now, and that took time. It takes time to recruit great talent. We've been, like they really want us to succeed, and so do we. So
so do I.
Yeah.
Because I and out there, like full disclosure, obviously none of this is financial advice, but I still hold my Kylin tokens. I'm staking them. If you go to Kylin.network, you can very easily stake any Kylin tokens. I think it's about 15% right now you get on it. Speaking of the stake tokens though for Kylin right now, I am curious, like once the parachain goes up and stuff, like at what point will Kylin move over to become a DOT token and not an ERC20 token? Is that in the works?
Yeah. It won't happen though until we get our Polkadot parachain. So
okay, so you need the Polkadot parachain for that. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to.
And then we'll write a smart contract, which essentially will like put your ERC20 Kylin parallel with your Polkadot Kylin, and then we'll just do a 1-to-1 conversion, and that's it.
All right. So obviously I've taken enough of your time. You're down there in Austin. You're at Consensus. I want to get any last thoughts that you might have for people. As you said earlier in the interview, you've gone through this before. I've gone through this a bunch of times. What's your advice? What do you tell people? What should people be doing right now who are excited about crypto, but this is their first time going through one of these kind of ugly bear markets?
Well, it's sort of like if you know somebody you love like just kind of like broke up with you or let you down, or you know you're like, or you're cast out to sea and you think you're never going to see an island again. You're going to be in this place for a long time. It's like any of those. It's a very human situation. It's a despair situation, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, whenever you feel despair, whether it's because, I mean, whatever, it's emotional and personal, or whether it's financial, it's like you have to have some amount of hope, conviction, faith, like, or all three, to hopefully it's conviction. I mean, even, or if it's faith, it's not blind faith, or if it's hope, it's not naive hope. But when it comes specifically to crypto, like, I think you have to think about a lot of or yeah, I guess crypto. You have to think about the fact that it's been around a while, right? It's not going anywhere. The toothpaste is outside, it's out of the tube. The the um, the potential for crypto plus Web3, and and to some extent metaverse, like the potential for that to change the world is real. The potential for it to create new efficiencies, new business models is real. The potential for it to, for certainly the financial use cases, and if we're talking maybe about Bitcoin, the potential for a global reserve currency to form is real. Um, so I think that you have to have conviction around whatever it is you're investing your time and effort in, right? Like, um, and if you don't have that conviction, or maybe that was where things went wrong for you. Um, speaking personally, I always had conviction around crypto from a very early, point. So same with you, and that was because I believed in the math of it initially, but I also believed in the broader context. Um,
And
and
you're in the trenches there. I think a lot of retail investors, were obsessed with the price. That's kind of the what's on the surface. You're going to you're going to all the conventions, you're talking to all the builders, you're kind of part of that. And so from that standpoint, your conviction has not wavered. It's only gotten stronger, it sounds like.
No, I mean, dude, I think the future is extremely bright for crypto or crypto adjacent like stuff, right? I mean, we're certainly the Web3 narrative is going to be huge. I mean, like, and um, like like data monetization is like going to be another really, really big wave. And when some of the rails are kind of like in place for people to start, um, regular people to start getting really interesting kind of like personal capitalizations. Like, it'll take time. It'll take a couple of years, 3 years, maybe less, but um, it's gonna happen. And it's like, and the future is extremely bright when it comes to that. I think that um, crypto, as mainly a constellation of finance, like the DeFi, NFT, and metaverse, is going to pale in comparison to the broader historical revolution of Web 2 to Web 3. That's my point of view. And I think that that's going to like be really, really exciting to witness. And I think the future's bright when it comes to that, actually. I just think, it's like this is always happens. It's like if Bitcoin shot to 50K tomorrow, would we be having the same conversation? Right?
No, yeah, exactly. Exactly. No,
Like
this
and
is
I'm not
definitely
trying
what
to
happens.
be provocative, but it's like, would we be having the same conversation? Maybe similar, but like
I
Would be
guess
a
for
little
me, no,
different. Yeah.
it's
It's like,
the
yeah.
conversation is it's less about Bitcoin. We know Bitcoin's going to come around.
No, I know. I
But
mean, just
so
if the
if
market,
it
like if
is, I
everything,
agree with
yeah,
you. I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
I mean, for me, it's though like every cycle there is a bit of mourning around the projects that you love that don't end up surviving that cycle,
Yeah,
and
man.
that
I
and
was,
yeah.
I
No, but
there's
I
so
have
many
high hopes for
projects.
Kylin. I'm not putting Kylin in that
Thanks.
pile. I just want people to know I'm holding my Kylin. I'm staking it. I'm really rooting for you guys, and I do really appreciate this. One of the big things. This is a big thing for me, and I'm going to try to get a lot of projects here on the channel over the next couple of weeks and months, however we go through this, because people like you who stand up, answer the tough questions clearly. You, for me at least, I believe your motivations. I believe in them, and I want to get behind them. And but I do really, really appreciate you coming on the channel and just answering the tough questions. It means a lot, and I think it means a lot to
Yeah,
our audience too. So thank you so much, Dylan. Hopefully next time we
absolutely.
have you on, it will be a much more cheery, jolly conversation. But these ones are the important ones to have, I think. So I really do appreciate you being here with us today.
It's my pleasure. And I just want to be real. Like uh I've made mistakes. I've made mis and I've also done some things that are good, right? As we all have. Um I think it's like the important thing is to just keep consistent, to keep going, to keep understanding that, whatever it is that you're doing is, worth it. And I absolutely 100% still feel that. And I will I will die like on the cross for like
I'll be
you
there
know
with you.
I don't
I'll be there with you.
like but I don't want to. And I think we're doing a really good job of getting things more aligned. And I really appreciate, I want to say is it may, in closing, I know, I don't want to take too long, but yeah, like I know that it may be tough, at times, but and I know that I may sound jaded to some extent about the public nature of, having a token issued kind of model, but some of the people that have come out of the community and that I've met and are just wonderful people, and I really value that when I get the five or six, when I see the five or six text messages, or not text messages, but Telegram messages that say, blah, 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 it's terrible, Dylan's a terrible guy, he's a horrible human being. And then, every one of every five is like, no, I really like the project, and I think they're great and they're doing their best. And those are the things that are meaningful to me. And I think we need more of that positivity in our and I think we have a responsibility to call people out, um, at least to the extent that, we believe in the validity of whatever project, right? That it
Yeah.
is, if they're legitimate. Like, we have a responsibility to call that negativity out, because we have a responsibility to help inculcate the talents that will build, the future of our internet, right? Like, and
Yeah, I
and
agree.
they're
And
gonna
it's
get,
not helping. It's
like,
not
there's
helping.
these
That's the
rage
thing. If you
quits.
want to see
Yeah,
these projects survive, and if you want to see them thrive, the negativity doesn't help. I think criticism, constructive criticism, obviously part of, if you're a token holder, you're, in my opinion, you're basically a shareholder, and you can ask questions and stuff like that. But just being negative for the sake of it, or all that kind of stuff, I agree with you. It should be called out, and there's too much of it in the space. So, but again, thank you, Dylan. Really appreciate you being here. Have fun in consensus at consensus, and yeah, we'll talk to you down the road. And hopefully next time we're going to be celebrating the next bull market. Thank you.
hopefully. Thank you.